I said I wasn't going to do it. I swore I wasn't going to talk about this. I made a solemn vow on stream that not even Batman could beat this conversation out of me, but it's going to leave my lips because I can't take it anymore. This is worse than the torture Jack Bauer put his terrorists through. People keep emailing me and asking me, what did I think about the Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson fight? The reason I didn't want to talk about the fight and the reason I was so adamant that I wouldn't be talking about the fight while it was going on during stream is because it's just boring. It was extremely lackluster, and that was an extremely predictable thing to see from a mile away. Now, apparently the undercard fights that preceded the main event were extremely good, so hats off to all the fighters that really put their best foot forward and delivered an incredible performance in the middle of this fucking circus. I have said, since the very day this was announced, that it was a pathetic endeavor. I thought that this would only end in underwhelming, disappointing disaster. And it only got worse when Mike Tyson suffered a medical emergency and nearly died like 4 months before this fight even happened, which caused it to be pushed back in the first place. It is stupid. I thought it was a horrible concept for a fight. I didn't even watch it. I was streaming Dark Souls 3 through the whole thing and getting updates from chat about how horrible it was to watch, what a giant waste of time and scam it was, and I still was provided with a real-time analysis round by round, and my god, even just reading the cliff notes was sad and lame. Like, it would have been more thrilling to be getting updates at bingo night, hearing about the senior citizens bingo cards. It was just sad. Like, it would have been a more thrilling fight to watch me put my head up someone's butt to fight for air. It's just, from the very beginning, I said there would be no knockouts in this fight. I was very, very firm in that prediction. And there was no knockouts in this fight. Not only was there no knockouts, there was no anything worthwhile. As I said from the beginning, this is just a cash grab. It is two athletes getting a payday and nothing else. And from the highlights, using that word real loosey-goosey, that I watched of it, there wasn't even really much of a fight there. Mike Tyson is nearly 60 years old. He is a legend, but he's also a man. And there is no man that can beat Father Time. Time is undefeated and it always will be. And there are certain things that as you age, you just can't overcome in a physical sense like this. Honestly, I'm very impressed that Mike Tyson was able to even go the distance in this fight to actually finish it, because he was gassed really early from what I can tell. He ran out of steam by like the second round almost entirely, at least from what I've picked up on. Again, I didn't watch it live, but from everything I'm seeing, it seemed like he was completely out of energy, needed to construct additional pylons, like there were no resources left, yet he hung on and still absorbed like 200 punches from Jake Paul. So really, hats off to Mike Tyson for that, and overcoming all of the obstacles that he did to even fight in this event. It really is extraordinary, to be honest. It was never realistic to expect him to come out there and be the Mike Tyson that everyone remembers from the glory days. It was always going to be an incredibly difficult challenge to fight someone as young as Jake Paul. I am not surprised that Jake won this fight, and people are already clowning on him for it, saying that he's already booked his next fight against Joe Biden and then his following fight against Jimmy Carter. Jake Paul hurts more elderly people than a staircase. He's built a reputation of just challenging out of their prime fighters, retired fighters, sometimes not even fighters. I wouldn't be shocked if Jake Paul called out my father, saying that he's bad at iRacing and he wants to prove it by getting in the boxing ring with my dad. I know everyone, including myself, was saying this is a lose-lose for Jake because even if he won, he would still get laughed at for it, which he is, rightfully so. But if he lost, he would get laughed at for that too, for losing to a nearly 60-year-old man. But now, it's pretty clear it wasn't a lose-lose. It was a win-win. Two winners, Jake Paul and Mike Tyson. They both got like $20 million each for this. And you know who ultimately got put in a losing position, a little checkmate? Everyone who watched it. Everyone who spent their night waiting for something extraordinary to happen with Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson. I am surprised at how popular this was. I am shocked that people bought into the hype again. This is a classic how many times do I have to teach you this lesson moment. Logan Paul versus Floyd Mayweather. Like all of these fights like this, where it's YouTuber versus legend, are always underwhelming. I also speculated that this fight Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson had a no knockout clause. I still think I'm probably right on the money with that. This truly was just about getting a bag. I don't think there was ever the desire for Jake or Mike to knock the other out, so I think it was probably even written into the contract to maybe not go hog wild in the fight or anything. But of course, that's just a conspiracy theory. That's fucking tinfoil condom shit from me there. Not that it really matters. At the end of the day, this was never about a fight. It was always about a payday for both of them. So, I mean, congratulations to them. They definitely made a pretty penny off of this. Maybe next time when Jake Paul announces his next opponent, when he digs up the corpse of Muhammad Ali and challenges it to a fight, maybe then people will be like, maybe I'll sit this one out. I've been disappointed plenty of times now with these big YouTuber fights. Maybe this is the one that I'll finally skip on. Because right now, this is just an infinite money glitch right here. Jake Paul has made so much doing this same thing. And you think he gives a shit that people make fun of him for challenging retired fighters? Absolutely not. He doesn't care at all because it draws a crowd every time. And even if you hate him for it, you're still watching. And that's putting tons of doubloons in his pockets. And he knows that playing the villain is extremely lucrative because it gets people invested. They want to see him get knocked out, and he plays with that, and he makes a lot of money off that. So people will be cheering for whoever he goes up against. When Jake Paul announces that he's fighting the ghost of Christmas past next week, people will tune in hoping that this will be the time that, the dildo of justice rarely comes lubed, and it's coming at Jake raw. It's going to be the time he gets knocked out, and I can't wait to see it. And it probably won't, because Jake is a good fighter, and he is fighting people that don't actively fight anymore. When he did fight someone that does still actively fight, he lost. And I'm going to make another prediction here. I don't think he's going to make that mistake again. I don't think he's going to challenge any more active fighters. That's a bold prediction because he's going to be farming this for quite some time. I think he will continue to choose huge names and nothing else. Huge names that people will recognize to draw a crowd to tune in to the latest fucking wet fart of a fight that he puts on. So there you go. There's the whole enchilada on my thoughts of Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson. I'm very happy I didn't watch it live. That would have made me actually mad, especially considering how bad the broadcast apparently was. That's a totally separate subject. So I was reading some of the complaints from people. Like after I watched the highlights, I was reading from like some articles that were posted about like the Netflix issues that they were experiencing. How do you fuck that up so bad? This was a massive event for Netflix, and they definitely fumbled it in a big way. But maybe that could be spun as a blessing in disguise, because maybe there's people that were watching it, but the broadcast was so bad they turned it off. You saved yourself a headache. You saved yourself some time, because you didn't miss anything by turning the fight off. Maybe you went to bed a little early because of that. You got some extra slumber and you're feeling a lot more recharged today. So Netflix's blunder may have been to your benefit, at least some viewers out there. Though I do think Netflix should probably get that shit together for the next time they try and do a massive streamed broadcast. Because hooey, from what I've read, that was not smooth at all, huh? Anyway, though, that's really about it. So, yeah. This isn't a video I'm super enthusiastic to make, mainly just because I find the topic super uninteresting and more worthless than an NFT. It is about the Logan Paul Dillon Danis fight. A lot of people keep asking me, what did I think of it? Did I watch it? Well, first and foremost, I'm proud to say I passed the Turing test here. I proved my sentience by being smart enough to not get scammed into paying money for this, because I knew it was going to be a fucking snooze fest. This would have no chance of being actually entertaining. I dislike both fighters. I dislike Logan Paul more than I dislike Dillon Danis, but they're both scammers. But there was no world where Dillon would win this. This isn't anime where all of a sudden some super underpowered character can perform really well if he just believes hard enough. And I don't think Dillon even believes in himself. He was really just trying to make as much money as he possibly could in a short amount of time off the back of all this, and clearly didn't even try when it comes to training. And now he's throwing even more of a temper tantrum on Twitter about all of it. But there was no world where he was actually going to be victorious here. Which I feel like everyone aside for some brainwashed zombies knew would be the case. Anyone who knows anything at all about Dillon Danis knows that the only thing he is capable of delivering is shame. And not for himself. He is truly shameless. He's immune to it. He was born without the ability to feel shame. He will promote any scam that offers him $1. This fucking goofball would be promoting asbestos if they gave him a $10 bill. I'm talking about the shame he delivers is to the viewer that wasted their time watching him. He turns everything that he's a part of into an absolute fucking circus. He couldn't have made himself look like more of a clown if he had worn a red nose and honked it in the middle of the match than he did with how this actually played out. He's a fucking joke of a fighter, and everybody knew that, except for the people he was able to mislead with his very effective campaign of shitting on Logan Paul's wife going into it. And he made a huge spectacle out of it, which drove a ton of sales, but he at no point ever stood a single chance of winning this, and most people knew that. And it's exactly how it played out, but it was even more embarrassing than I could have ever possibly fucking imagined. The author of 50 Shades of Grey couldn't have made something more shameful for Dillon Danis than what happened here. It is so bad. He landed 16 punches compared to Logan Paul's 102, and half the time he spent it with his face down in Logan Paul's nutsack, literally huffing his ball fumes and gobbling on his wiener. And if he wasn't doing that, then he rolled onto his back with his legs up in the air, looking like he's trying to try something out of the Kama Sutra. When watching the highlights of this fight, it actually just seems like you're watching Logan Paul training footage, but his punching bag is animatronic, so it moves a little bit. Half of the time, Dillon Danis is just covering up and letting Logan wail on him, literally slap him around like a slab of meat, or like a pizza dough being tossed in the air, but with fists. Dillon Danis is just a knuckle sandwich magnet. It is pathetic. I actually feel really bad for anybody who bought into watching this and expected it to be a real fight. Dillon was so concerned with trying to get Logan into a headlock, which never happened, that he completely forgot that it's supposed to be a fight. So all he did was just sit there, smile occasionally, get blasted, and then, go to the ground to try and grapple with him, end up just fucking biting on his scrotum, then scramble back up. It was just so stupid. It was so fucking stupid. I already know this won't be the last time we see Dillon Danis in, a big boxing promotion or anything, because even though he is a turbo weenie, he is extremely effective at getting people to purchase your event. He's really good at trolling online. He's good at rallying people to his side, even though it's just complete hopium that he has even the slightest chance in these matches. And also, there's only a 60% chance he shows up to what he agrees to. He dodges more commitments than he did Logan Paul's punches. He ducked out of KSI's fight not too long ago, and I think there's just a great chance that if he agrees to something, he might not follow through with it. You're already gambling on if the event's even going to happen, but somehow he's able to, through really non-stop relentless trolling, get people to forget all of that and just believe in the magic like Disney World. They believe in him and they buy into it. So he's a great marketing tool. And not only that, he is a great stat booster. If this was an online video game, he would be banned for inflating other people's ranks. This is the kind of guy you just farm for elo. He goes out there, he gets brutalized. The opponent that brutalizes him feels good, looks good in front of the whole crowd, everyone laughs at the joke that is Dillon Danis, and he gets paid some money for helping inflate the other guy's numbers. It's a really effective hustle, and the cycle repeats. It's smart. I get why Dillon continues to play this role, and he plays it well. But that doesn't mean that it makes for entertaining fights nor worth the money to watch it. At the end of the day, it's the audience whose time was wasted, and it just sucks. I don't think there's anyone that watched this fight and enjoyed it, unless you were there just to watch Dillon Danis make a fool of himself. In that case, you probably got exactly what you hoped for. So yeah, anyway, these are my full thoughts on the Logan Paul vs. Dillon Danis fight. Overall, they both suck, but Dillon Danis did lose this fight in a pathetic fashion. That's about it. So yeah, it's with a heavy heart that I bring you all some sad news about Joe Rogan. I get no pleasure in talking about this, but I think it's important to address. Joe Rogan has done something remarkably silly, if you can believe that. He made a bit of a boo-boo, a mistake, a very public mistake, and one that I am personally involved in. Now I'll go ahead and be upfront and honest out the gate here, because honesty is the best policy, as my old 4th grade teacher used to say, God rest their soul. I don't really listen to Rogan much anymore. It's been quite some time since I watched or listened to a full Rogan episode, but I do still keep up to a certain degree, and recently he made a bit of a blunder on his show. Now, I'm also very familiar with the memes that have floated around about Rogan for at least a couple years now about him being dead. And after this clip, I'm starting to believe in the conspiracy. Maybe Joe Rogan really did pass away a while back and he's been replaced by an AI chat GPT, because I cannot wrap my head around how he even made this mistake. So what happened is, Joe Rogan was talking about a very sad video he watched of a father-son boxing match where the father beat the shit out of his son and people cheered and it made him sick. Hearing that story, of course, does tug on the heartstrings and would probably make most people a little confused and maybe even angry. But the problem is, what Joe Rogan is describing is not the reality of what he watched. What he was talking about is the Creator Clash, which was a YouTuber boxing event, and the match in particular he's referring to is Matt Watson vs. Dad. Dad is the YouTuber's online handle. So Joe Rogan watched that and believed it was a real father-son boxing match. And where I get involved is I was literally one of the commentators for this match. So you'd have to actually be watching that with the sound off and very close to passing out from overdosing on Xanax to even for 1 second believe what you were witnessing was a real father-son match.
I saw a video today of a boxing match between a father and a son. It made me so sad. It made me so sad. Because there's this young kid. He looks like he's probably like 17 or 18, and the father's 42. And the father beats the shit out of him. I mean, like, dings him in the head and keeps punching him. I'm like, that's your son. That's your son.
What I find extremely entertaining about this situation is he has an entire team around him, and not a single one bothered to correct him until the very end after he had already made a fool of himself. They're probably just like giggling, listening to him tell this story, just waiting for the moment to drive the knife in to let him know, like, no, you actually got that super fucked up. You got that so twisted, that's not what happened. But this isn't even a matter of Joe Rogan not doing research. This goes a step beyond this. This is a matter of Joe Rogan not even bothering to turn the sound on to the video he's talking about. Because if you unmuted it, you would hear us, the commentators, explaining like the event and the situation and what was going on. So he had to have watched this with the sound off in order to even come close to misunderstanding what was happening. And even then, that's a stretch. You'd also have to be way too high to read, because when they walk out, their subscriber numbers are posted under their name. So like all of the signs and clues are there and drilled into the spectator's head, and somehow it misses Joe entirely, which is just wild to me. And I love that he's wearing like an astronaut spacesuit during this rant that he goes on here, because it fits the mood beautifully. It's such a wonderful compliment. Now, to be fair to Joe, in his defense, at the end of the clip he mentions that the video title he watched misled him. And in that clip that he references, the original audio is gone and replaced with a guy lying about the whole situation. And I just still don't understand why Joe would just take all of that at face value without just watching the original clip without the voiceover. I feel like he would have done both. Like, after being made aware of the situation, he then would have watched the original. But then maybe I'm putting too much faith in his process. Like, maybe I'm giving too much credit for his researching. Maybe he just watched this YouTuber voiceover that fed him a lot of misinformation and just instantly believed it without a second thought.
And we're watching you beat your son up, because I get your son probably got cocky with you, and he celebrates after he knocks his son out. It made me so sad. Because first of all, I'm like, that kid has brain damage now, 100%. Maybe it's just a little, maybe he'll be fine, maybe he'll get over it, but maybe you fucked him up. That can happen too. He might be depressed from now on after that. It might fuck up his pituitary gland. It happens to people. And you just did that to your son. You're supposed to like touch him up. You're supposed to not even hurt him. Like slam him in the body a little bit. Like, you think he can fight? Okay, dude, okay, let's have a little boxing match. You don't tee off on your son's face on television. It's crazy.
That is crazy, and I really love the fantasy Joe was in for however brief a time, that he had just watched a clip from a television broadcast where a father beats the fuck out of their son live in front of an audience as everyone cheers. That is such an amazing, like, visual. And Joe's like, this is madness. What are we, barbarians? What happened to civilization? We're watching fathers beat their son for sport. What's next? Are we going back to the Coliseum? Blood sports? Watching people die? When will the madness end? What's next in this lunacy? It's just so wild that this actually happened.
How old was the kid?
Kid looks young. To me, he looks like, he could be 20. He could be 19. He looks young. He's real skinny. And the father's kind of jacked. Not too jacked, but, he's fit. And he could fucking punch. He knows how to box. And the son doesn't look like he has any idea what the fuck he's doing. I don't know what the thing was. Like, someone sent it to me, and they were, like, cheering that this old guy knocked his son out. I was like, you guys are crazy. That you failed. You've failed as a man. Yeah, this is it.
That's not exactly what was happening.
It's not? What is it?
They're not father-son.
Oh, why does it lie? It says father knocks out son in celebrity boxing match.
Gotta get somebody to click on this.
Oh.
This was like a YouTuber thing. This guy's a YouTuber and he's a YouTuber.
I'm such a sucker.
For some reason, this was oddly cute, where he's like, oh, why would they lie? Reminds me of that scene in Arthur about, would someone really do that? Go online and tell lies? Like, Joe is just like so trusting. He's like, oh, I got betrayed. The title misled me. Man, I'm such a sucker. Like, at least he owned up to it. Like, I appreciate that he didn't try and fight and get defensive about it. Now, I went to the video here, and it's only 30 seconds, and it's actually none of the audio from the actual event. It's another man who's just spreading misinformation, saying this was a father-son grudge match. And I guess for some reason, Joe Rogan took all of that at face value. I just find it hard to believe that he only watched that 30-second clip and just believed it. Because Joe Rogan questions fucking everything. So he's just going to a random channel in like 360p because it's been fucking ripped and re-uploaded 1,000 times, so it's in shit quality. And for some reason, Joe Rogan just believed a completely random stranger online telling lies. I'm just still not fully convinced that he just received this random email and just watches everything that gets sent to him. This is a 20,000 view video. Are you telling me Joe Rogan sits there late at night and just goes through his entire email list of every single video sent to him, no matter how small, and just believing every single thing he sees? I don't know. That just doesn't strike me as realistic. But then after this situation, I guess it could be. Who knows? But since we're talking about Joe Rogan, I always like to take an opportunity to bring up his incredible nipples. Those are absolutely legendary. So I'm going to play you a stream clip where we go deep on Joe Rogan's nipples, because I think every time he's mentioned in conversation, it's important that we highlight just how beautiful those puppies are. We all know you love Joe Rogan's long nips. I don't know how many times I need to talk about how great his nipples are. He has the best nipples in the game. Legitimately, no one has a better set of udders than Joe Rogan. And since you brought it up, now I've got to pull up the picture, because I already know there's going to be people in here who haven't seen them. They're fucking incredible. They're actually fucking incredible. Oh, this is this is my tweet too. When you type in Joe Rogan nipples, it's my tweet. That's so fucking amazing. I'm glad. Just look at those. Look at those puppies. Just like two tiny little fingers. I know, this happens every time I bring up Joe Rogan's nipples. It always blows my mind that more people haven't seen these. They're so cool. It casts its own shadow. I've talked about that before too. Joe Rogan's nipples are kind of like the thing Carl Sagan made where you could prove the world was round using like 2 pillars. He talked about that experiment where they like erected 2 pillars, and judging by the shadow they were able to deduce that the world was round. You could do that same experiment on Joe Rogan's nipples. They're like little sundials. Yeah. Like I said, he's got the best pair in the game. Like, not even close. I have never seen nipples that look like Joe's. I didn't even think they could. They're like 2 tiny little tater tots. Well, tiny's the wrong word. They're anything but tiny. You could attach a car battery to them. Why is your website in a different language? Because for some reason when I googled his nipples, it defaulted to whatever language this is. I don't know why. But it's my tweet that it went to, which is cool. Why do they protrude so much? Has he talked about his condition of his nipples? That's a great question. Has he ever talked about them? I imagine he must have at some point. Like, at least somewhat addressed it. Like, hey, here's what's up with my nipples. I see nothing wrong with them. I think they're glorious. But I don't think you're going to see many of these out there in the world. These are rare. Dude was in a cold bath. Yeah, obviously he was in a cold bath. That doesn't change his... Like, if I'm cold, like, let's say I poured ice into a bucket and I just sat in the bucket for, like, a couple minutes. My nipples would get hard, but they wouldn't look like that. They don't, like, wumbo your nips. And it also wouldn't just delete his areolas. I don't know where his areolas went, but they were not there anymore. You never forget the first time you get scammed. For me, and probably for many others, it was RuneScape, a game that'll teach you to never trust anyone ever again. It'll even have you questioning the real motives behind your parents' decisions. It'll really just change the way you look at the world and make you afraid of betrayal at every turn. But I also think getting scammed on RuneScape prepared me for the reality of shit out there. Since then, I've been very good about avoiding scams. If I get a call that says anything about my vehicle's extended warranty, I hang that shit up right away. If I get a call that even sounds like a telemarketer, I just immediately hang that shit up. They don't even get the fucking breath out of me into the phone. I'm just putting that shit down. But one scam I have fallen victim to, unfortunately, over the last year or so is watching YouTuber boxing fights. It's like this guilty little pleasure, and every time it's over, I just feel like I've been scammed. I feel dirty. I feel like I've sinned. I'm unclean. And I've made a vow, a very holy promise to never watch one of these again, or at least not pay for them or watch them in full. I went to the Logan Paul vs. Floyd Mayweather fight, which was one of the most regretful experiences of my life. An event so bad it changed the way I perceive our universe. It was beyond boring. There's not even a word that exists to describe just how insufferably boring going to that was, and how awful I felt having paid for it too. But just like the free armor trimming scam in RuneScape, it did teach me something. And I will no longer be watching any of these fucking YouTuber fights or paying for them or any of that shit. However, I have still been kept up to date on what's going on. I know Jake Paul is fighting Tyron Woodley today. I think it's today. And I couldn't give a fuck less about it. However, I've seen a few clips floating around on Twitter, and there's one in particular I want to talk about. This is the face-off here. Jake Paul's even got like a fucking Megazord Gundam thing behind him. Then he gets up in Tyron Woodley's face trying to be intimidating. And I just feel like Jake Paul's confused. I feel like he doesn't know how to handle testosterone, so to me it looks like he wants to kiss him on the mouth, and he doesn't know if he should. I think Jake Paul should have kissed him, at least a little peck on the cheek. He's all about having like a big show before the fight, and that would have been pretty hardcore. He's already got like a robot behind him, like this fucking battle bot over there, looking like something out of real steel. So why not go the extra mile and really give us all something to talk about? Just start making out with each other before the fight. So why do I want to talk about this? It's because for a long time I thought Jake Paul being stupid was just an act, like a persona he puts on. But I've listened to a couple of the things he's been doing with Tyron Woodley, like their shit talking back and forth, and I'm convinced he's just actually one of the dumbest men on the planet. He has an extremely hard time stringing together even a single sentence without sounding extremely scared. It's like every time Jake Paul opens his mouth, not only do you have to hear like this diarrhea that comes from it, but it just sounds like he's perpetually presenting in front of a class for his class project and he's nervous. I don't know why he has such a hard time presenting himself without sounding absolutely dumb. Like, irredeemably goofy and silly. And Tyron Woodley calls that out every chance he gets. I also just don't think Jake Paul knows how to look tough. Like, he gets all these tattoos and it doesn't make him look cool or scary. It just somehow makes him look more and more like a goofy goober. And him acting tough is him, like, sensually getting into someone's face. Like, him putting his forehead on Tyron Woodley's forehead isn't scary or intimidating. It makes it seem like I just flipped on a porno. Like, my girlfriend puts her head to my forehead sometimes, like, cuddling. You know, maybe I'm picking up the wrong signals. Maybe she's trying to challenge me to a fight, and I'm misconstruing the information here. But to me, it doesn't seem tough. It seems like Jake Paul has all of these hormones going on. He's probably on some gear. His pecs are looking a little more titty-like. So maybe he doesn't know how to handle all of these endorphins going on. So he's in Tyron Woodley's face and he's like, you know, he doesn't know whether or not he wants to like lick him and kiss him or like, you know, put his finger up to him like, you should be scared. You know, I don't know. He just doesn't seem like he understands how to be tough. It's like he's a bad actor trying to play the tough guy and doing it poorly.
Ask Amanda Serrano. Ask Charles Conwell. Ask Tyron Woodley.
Ask these nuts.
This has been the best moment of this whole little fucking thing so far. Tyron Woodley dropping a D's nuts on him. That had to be the most stern D's nuts I've ever seen in my fucking life. He delivered it like he was Arnold as the Terminator, hitting him with the D's nuts line. Like, where do you even go from there? The whole fucking thing should have stopped right then and there. When someone gets a D's nuts into something, no matter how intense or serious the talk is, like, you can't help but giggle. Like, that puts the kibosh on the whole thing right away. Like, I remember an older video, too. I'd have to really go out of my way to find it. But there was, like, a mover who was getting yelled at by some angry tenant at an apartment complex. And he says, "What's your name?" And he said, "These nuts." And then even the tenant's, like, laughing. He's like, oh, my God. It just makes you feel silly, right? So Tyron Woodley dropping those D's nuts there, I feel like Jake Paul lost in that moment. Like, the fight's already over. Tyron Woodley wins. I don't know anything about Tyron Woodley, but in my book, he's already beaten Jake Paul. Hopefully Jake Paul loses. Probably won't. I don't know if Tyron Woodley is like a boxer. Probably not, because Jake Paul doesn't challenge boxers. He's the only boxer who refuses to fight a boxer. Next, he might be challenging a professional bowler, so that'll be exciting. But anyway, for now, that's about it. See ya. I'm one of those idiots that bought tickets to go see the Logan Paul vs. Floyd Mayweather fight, and I'm pretty ashamed of it. I said pretty recently that the worst purchase I've ever made in my life was a $200 pocket trumpet. Yeah, that's been absolutely eclipsed by this purchase. I bought seats for me and my friends to go and just kind of goof around and have fun, and I thought it'd at least be an entertaining spectacle, and admittedly, like, everything leading up to the fight was kind of fun. But the fight itself was the most miserably boring experience I think I've ever sat through. I would have rather have gone to a spelling bee. I had more fun falling asleep on the Uber to the arena than I did at the actual fight. We drove 4 hours from Tampa to Miami to see it, and I would have rather driven 4 hours to a fucking library. The fight was so bad. I know Floyd Mayweather is considered the greatest fighter of all time, but he's easily the most boring fighter to ever live in the history of our species, dating all the way back to, like, the BC era, before Christ, when they were, like, slapping each other and they didn't know how to make, like, a fist because they were too dumb. That was probably more fun to watch than Mayweather in the ring. I've seen a total of 4 of his fights now, and all 4 of them are some of the most awful sporting memories I have. I have more fond memories of getting bullied at the football tryouts in high school. Those are happier moments in sports for me than watching Mayweather's fights. It's so boring. And this fight, if you can even call it a fight, was mainly just Logan Paul and Floyd Mayweather hugging a lot and then accidentally slipping a wet noodle strike somewhere to the body, and maybe even like an over-the-pants hand job occasionally when they were really wrapped up. It was awful. Luckily, I didn't spend too much money to, like, sit on floor seats. Those cucks absolutely got blasted financially for no reason, so we were up a little bit. It was still way more money than should ever rightfully be spent at a Mayweather fight. So we arrived at our seats with our spirits and cocks high, expecting at least something enjoyable to laugh at and goof around with, and that is not at all what we got. I will say though, I was impressed with Logan Paul. At least he was doing something. Mayweather, this is all you'll see, and then occasionally some of this and some of that on the cheek of Logan when they get tied up together in the Kama Sutra positions in the ring. But at least Logan was, like, kind of constantly moving his arms, like throwing them a little bit. Kind of looks like some kind of aerobics shit that he was doing from an 80s VHS tape. But at least he was trying to throw punches. I was half expecting him to go in there like a child, cartoonishly waving his arms like this, going for those kind of attacks. But we didn't see that. We saw something close, but not quite that. And I prefer that as opposed to Mayweather's technique of trying to bore the entire audience to death. When we went there, of course, the entire crowd was pretty much against Logan, and everyone was cheering for Mayweather. By the end of it, they were booing Mayweather and cheering Logan. Like, the people that were pretty close to us were huge Mayweather fans. They were so excited. Every time Mayweather moved his arm, they were going, "Whoa!" And then by the end, anytime Mayweather moved, they started booing him because they were so bored. And the shit was way too expensive to go to this fucking thing. They should have paid you to be there to make it look crowded. Fuck, it was bad. And now I've already seen the big boxing enthusiasts. Wow, what an incredible display from Mayweather, able to really wear out his opponent and show just how much better he is. Yeah, maybe to, like, a hardcore boxing nerd, that's cool, but to everyone else, that's so fucking boring. His dodges, super impressive, great. And you know what would have been even better? If he returned with some punches, like a counterattack or anything, besides just moving around. Like, it's fucking boring. It's supposed to be a fight, not a dance. Like, goddamn. Yes, it is impressive. I completely agree. But it is also extraordinarily unfun to watch in every capacity. So if this is truly what boxing is, then boxing fucking sucks. I haven't watched boxing outside of the big Mayweather fights over the last few years with like Manny Pacquiao and all that. And they have always, since I started watching, been this boring. This to a different level though. This was even more boring than the others. This was exceptionally awful. You could probably count the amount of punches that landed on a single hand. And I know there's this big conspiracy is the wrong word, but a lot of people seem to think that Mayweather actually did KO Logan and then held him up in order to let him go the distance for more money. I don't necessarily believe that. He did land like a punch on Logan, and then Logan kind of like drunkenly stumbled on top of him and hugged him, and Mayweather just kind of hugs him as well pretty tight, and it looks like Logan's kind of like limp-dicked, but I don't think he was knocked out. I think he was just really tired. Like, he looked extremely tired for half the fight, and Mayweather just looked extremely bored, kind of like the entire audience. So I don't think he got knocked out and was held up like Weekend at Bernie's. I don't think that's what happened. I think the hit landed and Logan immediately just went right back in for a hug in order to stop it, which I guess makes sense, but it fucking sucked. Overall, the entire event was awful. Miami is a complete and utter disaster of a city. We were stuck trying to leave the stadium for over 2 hours because Ubers don't know how to fucking get to the stadium. And the way they have it set up is like single file lines out of the stadium onto the middle of the fucking street, hoping people will get hit by cars. It was a horrible system, which I guess makes sense. It's about par for the course considering how horrible the fight was. It was a nice little shit cherry on top of the diarrhea cake. Overall, I'd do it again. Yeah, fuck yeah. Let's, I can't wait for the next YouTuber boxing match. I will say, at the very least, Jake Paul's fights are not boring. At least there's like some action there, and he's got that pure psychopath energy, so he's coming in like fucking full throttle. This was like going to the geriatrics ward and watching them like try and rekindle an old rivalry. It was awful. It just felt sad. And it was even worse considering we spent money to be there. Not fun. Wasn't fun. Was a bad fight that I don't think anyone's overly happy with. I know Floyd said that it was mainly just supposed to be entertainment. It completely failed in that aspect, I think. I think this is the worst possible entertainment. It would have been more entertaining if they entered the ring and then just started urinating on the crowd. I would have rather gone into the arena, they locked the doors and light the arena on fire. Would have been more fun than watching this match. God, it was fucking awful. We also filmed ourselves live reacting to the fight, kind of like a Mystery Science Theater thing, but you can't see the fight, obviously. I don't know if we'll release that. I haven't watched it back yet. The audio is probably pretty fucking awful. But if the audio's, not terrible, maybe we'll release it and it'll be the saddest reaction to anything ever. It's just us being extremely underwhelmed. And you can kind of see it go from like excitement in the first round of the whole arena kind of going pretty ecstatic and like, yeah, time for a cool fight. And then it starts just descending further and further into boredom. And then people start leaving, so in the video you'll see a bunch of people behind us just fucking evacuating as if it was a fire drill. Like by the 6th or 7th round, there was half of the people there that it started with. And since the arena was already at half capacity for COVID protocol, it looked like a fucking barren wasteland. It was like something out of an old western. I was half expecting tumbleweed to go through the ring. Like, it was sad. From happiness to like a crescendo of sadness. Just a pure fucking plummet. Yeah, again, I don't know if we'll release that because the audio might not be good. But if it is, yeah, sure, post that at some point. Anyway, though, that's about it. So, yeah. There's not many areas I'd consider myself an expert, but when it comes to slapping, I think I'm like a sage. I feel like the wisdom I have around slapping sports is nothing shy of top tier. I am the preeminent expert on slapping. And yesterday, Ludwig hosted a chess boxing event, which had a finale of chess slapping. Now, the sport's pretty self-explanatory. As advertised, you play a little chess, then you box against your opponent. So you play chess, then you stand up, beat ass, eat ass, sit back down, play some more chess. And the idea is, as you're getting absolutely walloped, taking all kinds of head injuries, riddled with CTE, brain turning to fucking mush, you're still supposed to sit down in a civilized game of chess and remember the perfect line for the Sicilian defense. It's a beautiful thing. I am a connoisseur on obscure sports that no one's ever heard of, so I was very familiar with chess boxing going into this. My hype was off the charts, and I think Ludwig did an amazing job. But he blew me away with something I've never seen before: chess slapping. Same fundamentals of chess boxing, but instead of boxing, you engage in a slapping competition. And he slapped Connor, CDawgVA. I don't know if Ludwig wants me to reveal this information, but you know what? I'm going off book. I'm an animal that can't be tamed right now, so I'm gonna leak it. I was actually asked by Ludwig almost 8 months ago now if I'd be interested in having a slap fight with him for this very event. And you know what I said to him? I sat him down, I said, Ludwig, absolutely fucking not. You're out of your mind. I am a baby bitch when it comes to anything pain related. I've said this before, I'll say it again. I wouldn't engage in a combat sport with anyone over the age of 12. I would only feel confident slapping or fighting actual children because I wouldn't want to get hurt. And I am confident that I would have the reach on like a 12-year-old where I would just take no damage. So Ludwig is well above the age of 12, thus I won't fight him. Call me a pussy? That's fine, I agree. I have a very weak chin. If Ludwig even lightly hit me with a glancing fart, I probably would have been knocked out. And I just don't want to take that chance. I of course appreciate Lud asking me, recognizing me as the super slap fighting fan that I am. I probably have the most slap fight tournaments watched out of anyone on YouTube. I mean, Jesus Christ, I have an entire fucking comic book series based around slapping. But I had to turn him down for this event. There was no way I was going to take any of these fucking blasts on the cheek. I probably wouldn't have survived. Ludwig would have hit me with one of his like really light, polite slaps, and it would have had my head spin around like a goddamn owl. So I declined, but Connor took my place and did a tremendous job. So I wanted to come in here and give like a high-level analysis of their slapping match.
Takes it. Can he block?
No, you have to just tank the punch. Now, normally you have you.
Oh! It happened. Slap directly on the cheek. Second shot coming up. Ludwig winding up and slap goes the dynamite.
I fucking missed, but next round you're fucked.
This is round one here, and it was immediately clear to my keen eye that these two have not trained in the art of slapping, at least not by a professional. Their technique is lacking, but I think Connor had the most natural aptitude for the sport. So let's talk about Connor's slap first. He came in there with like an almost disciplinary slap, like he was trying to teach Ludwig a lesson. Now it's standard in the sport of slapping that you do a couple little like practice slaps. So you caress their face a little bit and then you count 1, 2, and then on 3 you slap. That's kind of the norm across all the slapping commissions, but here they don't do that. It's like practice swings in golf, but they've foregone the practice swings. They just go right into the action. So Connor gets him with almost like a surprise slap, and he comes in at a really interesting angle. So he gets him flush like this. So it's kind of like that, whereas normally a slap wants to go more horizontal. He comes in vertically. So he's French frying when typically you want a pizza. And it worked to a moderate degree of success here, kind of hit Ludwig with a bit of an unexpected zinger, because it got him more in like the eye region, like in the lower eye socket, as opposed to more the masseter, where you're normally trying to target. But overall, for his first slap in the professional scene, I think Connor made a statement with it. Ludwig's was a bit rougher. So Ludwig was very robotic. It was almost like some kind of animatronic at Five Nights at Freddy's, the way he was moving his torso. So he came in and kind of like breezed past him almost. He got it with almost like a judo chop from Austin Powers, and he hit like the very lower part of his chin. Barely, just barely getting there. And you can even hear him acknowledge it, saying that he missed, but next time he's fucked. So it's just one of those things that you don't realize how hard it is to hit that mark until you try.
Here we go.
All right,
Oh, God.
CDawg with the first slap again.
Oh,
And
my
slap. That one hurt. Really
And-
zeroing in on
Oh,
that
my
cheek.
goodness.
Boom.
Oh, my God.
Slap. All right.
Now, one very important thing to note here, I'm not the health and safety expert or an advisor to the Ludwig event, but one big oversight is they didn't put in any ear protection. Unironically, and this is just being completely genuine here, this isn't a joke, when it comes to slapping, if you get slapped in the ear, it can actually rupture your eardrum really easily. Like, it is shocking how easily that eardrum can rupture with just a slap. So it was actually kind of concerning when I saw them do this with no ear protection. Usually put like a little cotton swab in there or just something. But here there was nothing. They were just doing it raw. So that's fucking extreme. Hats off to them for being so ballsy. I don't even know if they were aware of the risk they took there. But yeah, anyway, just wanted to point that out. This round was really heavy for Conor. He gave him an actual booming slap, I thought. So he still has that interesting technique where he's going more vertical at like an angle, kind of like he's swatting a fly. And he puts his slap right on the numbers. His slap is actually more like a cat clawing at something. And he puts it right on Ludwig's button, and you can even see him like react kind of in a big way. And I don't think he was just like overacting or trying to sell it like the WWE. That kind of shit just really hurts. So you can see him like kind of recoil to the side and even start pushing on his neck a little bit, because it's kind of a lot for your neck, voice crack, for your neck to take that kind of load as well. So it was actually just a good slap from Conor in that round. Ludwig also had a better round here. He even did a little warm-up slap to get his aim right, and then he brought it straight through with a full follow-through, the way you're supposed to do it. But with Ludwig, it doesn't seem like he actually throws slaps with any velocity. He just kind of like goes straight through all in one constant speed, and that speed is like not fast. Of course, neither one of them's trying to hurt each other, but Conor actually seems to have like some vicious sass behind his slaps where it's like, damn, that probably did hurt. Ludwig's, I could see Conor being like, huh, that wasn't too bad.
Oh my God, what is
I don't know the rules. This is something I've never done. Oh, all right. Ludwig did not want to get slapped right then.
I'm pretty sure you gotta have like hands above the table.
Yeah, CDawg warming up the hands.
Oh my gosh. Oh, big one.
Wow. Wow. I saw the ripples on the other side of Ludwig's face.
Interestingly enough, that technique Conor was going to use at the start where he got kind of low, that's like the normal slapping technique. You want to be a lot more fluid, obviously, in the professional scene, so you usually get pretty low and bring it up. Here, it's obviously all above the table to not have like a catastrophic injury, obviously. But then Conor delivered a slap that was a little off the mark, kind of just like brushed off by Ludwig pretty easily. Kind of just like almost greases off of Ludwig's cheek and just clips his nose on the way by. So not the best slap from Conor here.
I mean, even if you hit someone on the face.
All right, Ludwig warming up the hip rotation, warming up the shoulder rotation. He's getting ready.
Is he punching him? Ah, okay.
Punch would be illegal, I think.
And there we go. It's coming. 1, 2, and
slap goes the. Oh my gosh. That was definitely Ludwig's best slap of the match so far.
It absolutely was his best slap of the match. That one had ill intent behind it. Lud actually delivered a pretty good slap there. Good power, good form. There was nothing playful about that slap. That one was just kind of mean-spirited. So at that point, Conor was like, I didn't like the way that one tasted, I imagine. Because you could even see like the chalk going into like this big fucking explosion off the other side of Conor's face. So actually just a good slap from Lud there.
big windup coming.
The anticipation is mounting.
Oh my God, he's so
That
far
hand
away.
is
He's so
warming
far
up.
away.
He's getting a little run up, isn't he? Oh. Striking fear.
Oh,
Oh, he braced for it. That was a hard one. Oh man, CDawg, sorry.
oh my gosh.
That was so hard that CDawg is apologizing. Oh shit. All right, let's hear a little noise for this final slap of the evening. Ready, steady.
Oh!
Boom.
Stare down, and the stare down.
Wow.
Actually, a pretty strong final round from both. But Conor came in there and delivered a package Ludwig didn't order. That slap actually really did feel like it was a big one. Like Conor started to swing for the fences on that last round to try and seal the deal. And then Ludwig also threw a pretty decent slap, but unfortunately, if you slow down the footage, you can see that he mainly fingers him. So he just gets him with the fingers out here, so not really like a full palm strike, but even still, he came in there with decent velocity, and I think the fingers probably didn't feel that great running across the upper cheek of Conor. I won't spoil who the winner was, but I'll tell you it wasn't decided by slaps. It was decided on the chessboard in a fucking amazing finish. Like, that was an incredible finale, and overall the event was great. And I just wanted to talk about the slaps since I was almost involved in it. I was almost the opponent for Ludwig. Great event. That's about it. So yeah, I know the hot internet trend is YouTubers and TikTokers boxing each other and shit, and I know when you look at me, you see a fucking warrior, an absolute grease monster of legend, someone that you think would probably look like a conqueror from the medieval ages, someone truly intimidating with a masculine presence that shakes the very foundation of every room he enters. But contrary to popular belief, this is a misconception about me. I know I look like a gladiator and a Viking and a Girl Scout all fused together, so you'd expect me to be good at fighting, but I'm really not. It's like Darman taught us, don't judge a book by its cover. I've never been in a real fist fight. I've broken up a few fist fights, but never actually been the one in the center of them. So I don't really think I'd be necessarily good at them. I don't have the experience, nor the training, nor the motivation to learn how to fight. The only people I'd feel confident beating in fights are children. I don't think I'd do very well against someone my own age or anything like that. Though if we were playing by like prison rules, you know, no holds barred, I think I'd be a pretty unstoppable force because I wouldn't be fighting with honor, right? If you're getting in a street fight with me like, Charlie, hey, stupid face, let's throw down, okay? And then I don't have an option, you back me into a corner, I'll lunge at you like a rat who's trapped, you know? I'll be ripping at your nutsack, I'd be fucking jerking on your dick a little bit, maybe putting fingers up your butthole like in Naruto with the 10,000 years of pain. I would be playing dirty. But in boxing, you can't do that. There's certain rules you have to follow. So I really have no interest in hopping on this boxing trend. I've recently been asked a lot who I'd want to box and if I would ever get in the ring with somebody. And apparently a YouTuber even asked if I would be interested in doing it. The answer is nope. Not at all. Genuinely no interest in it whatsoever. However, if I'm being paid for boxing, if I'm paid to get in the ring, I will do exactly what Ben Askren did against Jake Paul, and I will take a dive immediately. I would literally go into the ring and lay down, and that would be it. Just take an easy payday. They could have the, you know, bragging rights like Charlie's a pussy, I beat the shit out of him, I scared the shit out of him, look at him, he just rolled over like an animal playing dead. That's fine. I would absolutely take that and just walk home with the fucking $10 million Ben walked home with for doing nothing. So, to break it all down again, I have no interest in boxing anyone. If someone challenges me to boxing, I'm going to say no, unless they're paying me. If they're paying me, then I will accept it, and I will go in there and immediately throw the match. I actually have nothing against this trend of sloppy boxing from internet creators against each other. I actually think it's pretty enjoyable, except for the Logan Paul vs. Floyd Mayweather fight. That shit was unbearable. There were more hugs during that fight than at the greet your neighbor section at church. It was really unfun to watch, and especially even more miserable since I was there in person. It really felt like I just fucking slapped myself in the face with my own dick just for going. It was truly awful. But other than that, I think most of the fights have been entertaining. Like recently there was a YouTuber versus TikTok fights. I didn't watch it. I didn't pay for it. I've learned my lesson. I'm never paying for these fights again. I'll just wait for the clips on Twitter. It looked like fun. Like Austin McBroom versus, I don't know, one of the Backstreet Boys or whatever the fuck. I don't know who he fought. I think it was Bryce something. Whoever he fought, he like beat the shit out of him. And it was really pretty impressive. Like he looked good. It was like he was just training against a punching bag. Or like a scene out of an old boxing movie where they're slapping around like pig carcasses in the back of a butcher's shop. Just beating on meat. Like, it was cool. Like, it looked enjoyable. I had a smile on my face watching it. And then FaZe Jarvis versus whoever he fought, that was a pretty brutal one. FaZe Jarvis actually rocked the shit out of him. So I do think it's entertaining to watch. I do appreciate the trend. I freely admit that, and I'm not ashamed of it. But it's not something I'd ever want to take part in directly. So I'm not too interested in learning how to box. So I just wanted to get out here early and put some coal in your Christmas stocking if you were expecting me to ever get in the boxing ring for any of this shit. The answer is absolutely not, unless I'm getting paid for it. And then even still, I'm not really boxing. I'm just going in there and taking a knee and just calling it a day for the payday. Because, I mean, that's like the ultimate speedrun strat. Ben Askren really did set a speedrun world record for the any percent route for shitty boxing. I think that was such a smart strategy. At first, I was really disappointed by it, but the more I thought about it, the more I came to respect that. He got paid millions to go in there and do nothing. He didn't train. He didn't care. He went in there knowing full well that he was just going to immediately get it over with so he could get the money and be done. And I think that is the right way of handling that for someone like me who has no interest in learning how to actually participate in the sport. So yeah, just wanted to go ahead and set the record straight on all that, and that's about it. So yeah, it's not often I like to spend a lot of time and play around in the pig pen when it comes to internet beef. I usually like to put that beef on a taco and just eat it one time, and I don't think there's any reason to go back for seconds. Typically, the cycle of life works. I'll make a video on something or someone, make jokes about it, talk about it, and then that person will respond with their own jokes, saying their own piece, and that's that. That's proper internet drama etiquette. That's just a beautiful thing, the way the Lord intended. I don't usually like to go back and respond to their response. It just seems highly unnecessary and feels more like milking a situation than actually like making it entertaining or just generally talking about something. Of course, I have done it in the past a few times where it really feels like it's an important situation and one that I really do need to respond to again, or if it's just a highly wild one and I just have that little devil on my shoulder that I can't persuade otherwise and it forces me to make yet another video about something silly. But usually I steer clear of it, and today is one of those special cases where I am going to be responding to someone's response. 2 days ago now, I made a video on a self-proclaimed super wealthy guru who was talking about how he could take your girl because he has so much money, and if you make less than 10K a month, you shouldn't go to the gym. You're a fucking idiot if you go to the gym. It was just really embarrassing stuff, and I was just pointing out how silly and stupid all of it was, just making fun of him. And he didn't take too kindly to it, so he put on his extra small big boy pants and said, "Alright, bub, so you want to tussle with the lack of muscle? I'll challenge you to a fight." So he made a fight declaration to me to, like, box me. And this is the main reason I'm talking about this goober again. When you challenge someone to a fight because they made jokes about you, I feel like you lose on the spot because all you're showing is that the jokes hurt your feelings. They got under your skin. So now you're coping with this defense mechanism of, I'll beat you in a fight because of what you said. And I feel like that's just the ultimate fucking L. Now, let's walk through this hypothetical. Let's say I took up the malnourished Martian on his fight offer and he beats my ass. He brutalizes me somehow. He takes his McLaren out and he's like, "Get a load of this, tough guy," and he starts wailing on me. What does that change about everything I've said about him? It's all still the truth. All the jokes are still applicable. It's just never fully computed with me because it always comes across as even whinier and more pathetic, at least in my eyes. And I'm sure the reason he's doing it is just for the sake of soaking up as much attention as possible. He makes it very clear in the beginning of the video that he's doing all of this for views, so I have no doubt that's the play. But what if I was to accept his offer? I feel like that would be his legitimate worst nightmare because I am 100% sure he's never thrown a punch in his life, not even in his dreams, because his bones would shatter. And let's not forget, I do keep that big iron on me. And these pythons, they don't play nice. But being in great shape doesn't correlate to being a great fighter. So who knows, maybe this guy absolutely could slap me around in a physical fight. But we won't find out because I don't plan on accepting the offer regardless.
It was by this guy Penguinz, whatever his name is.
Brother, you have the video up on the screen. What do you mean Penguinz, whatever his name is? You could have just opened your eyes. Are you too wealthy to just read? Can you read? It's Penguinz0.
He was talking a bunch of crap about my video. So we're going to respond. This is my reaction. Okay, we're not going to get heated in this. I'm not really massively triggered. I just want to take advantage of the views. So we're going to get right into this.
Immediately, this little weasel's already lying. I wasn't talking crap about his videos. I was talking shit about his videos.
Okay, I don't only own a McLaren. I used to have a 570S that was white. If you followed me for a while, you know this. It was a convertible drop top. Okay, had that car, sold it. Got a yellow Maserati, then got bored, and I was like, I got to get another McLaren. So I have a McLaren, a Maserati Ghibli. That's a 1 of 5, by the way, which costs way more than this entire fucking YouTube channel's ad revenue on a monthly basis. And then...
Man, he's really putting that egg on my face right now. I look real silly. This guy means business. He's got a lot of expensive cars. Holy shit. And he sets the record straight. The McLaren isn't rented. He showed the keys. And then even mentioned that he puts his Instagram sticker on the back. So I'd prefer if he just rented it. You put your fucking Instagram handle as a sticker on the back of your McLaren, it's already worthless now. You've ruined it.
I literally post this thing all around. I have my Instagram sticker on the back. People have seen the videos all over. You can't rent that every single day. Okay, so this part pisses me off because he says the name wrong like 8 times in a row. It's not McLaren, it's McLaren. Okay, so that's how we know this guy doesn't really have a lot of status. He doesn't understand these things.
Well, you can't argue with him there. That is a bulletproof case he's presented. I wasn't pronouncing it to his liking. I wasn't saying McLaren though. I was just saying it fast. McLaren. Like, it's not a hard word to pronounce. I don't know why he's trying to nitpick that. But anyway, I don't need to go through this with a fine-tooth comb. I'll show you the creme de la creme here. I'll give you the climax where he mentions the boxing match with me.
The funny part is that I don't need to be in shape. And you know what? I'm going to make this statement in the video. We should do a boxing match with him because he does not. I'll box this guy. I'll do something with him because I guarantee you he can't outrun me in a mile. Okay. I can still, to this very day, with the amount of times that I don't work out, I can still run a 6-minute mile, maybe 5.5-minute mile.
Whoa, stand back. We got ace athlete out here who could beat me in a race, which he absolutely could. I have no doubt about that. I can count on 2 fingers the people I can beat in a foot race. 1, a toddler that hasn't learned to walk yet, so he can only crawl. And 2, a 90-year-old that's using a walker. Everything else is going to be a close match. Though I don't know what running has to do with boxing. The two don't really correlate. They're very different. But anyway, the boxing offer. This is what I'm saying. I find that to just be completely worthless. Like, that has nothing to do with anything I was saying at all. If I was making the claim that I could beat his ass, then that boxing challenge holds a lot of water. Then that holds a lot of weight. I was just making fun of him. I've just always said, like, if you challenge someone to a fight because they hurt your feelings, that's an embarrassing look for you. It'd be a very different story if I was the one instigating, like, oh man, this guy, I'd beat his ass all over the place. I'd beat him like a drum. Then him challenge me to a fight's like, okay, he's stepping up. Now, am I going to follow through on what I was saying? And then it's on me, and then I look like a bitch if I don't. And I feel like that's not a super hot take, because usually it's a fight fire with fire. So if you're getting insulted or you feel insulted because of the jokes, you insult back or make jokes back. And that's the accepted battle terms. For an example, Uwe Boll. Terrible director, used to make a lot of awful films, but his big shtick that made him a legendary clown is he would challenge his harshest critics to boxing matches. Critics that insulted his movies, he would challenge to a boxing match and he became an absolute laughingstock, even though somebody once accepted it and lost. Uwe Boll was still the bigger joke, and in fact was even a larger joke after winning against this critic. He didn't look tougher, he looked even stupider. It's just one of those things where when you get offended and your defense is, I'll fight you for it, I just feel like it's a bad look.
If I don't go to the gym, that doesn't mean I'm insecure. It means that I'm actually more confident in my body. I'm very talented in other areas. I don't need to have big muscles to be good or athletic at things, right? A lot of the things that we challenge ourselves with that we think that we can't achieve are all up here. It really has not a lot to do with physical. I'm a marketer. I don't need to be massively fit, okay? I like to have all my stuff up here. Doesn't mean I have to go to the gym and be this muscle maniac. That this everybody has their own preference. I think that it's a waste of time. I think it's a mounds of insecurity.
This is the section where I was talking about his shaming of people that go to the gym and calling them fucking idiots for it. So he's immediately going off the rails into, like, lecture douchebag mode where he's like, well, actually, a lot of the obstacles that you encounter are mental, not physical. Like, that has nothing to do with anything right now. You're fighting some fucking ghosts. That doesn't matter. The whole point was, I even mentioned, if you're confident in your body, that's great. Why are you shaming people that want to look different than you do? You shitting on people who go to the gym, insinuating that they're poor and have no right to be there unless they're making more than $10,000 a month, comes across as bitter, delusional, and insecure. And for some reason, he tries to flip that around by saying, well, no, actually, going to the gym portrays insecurity. Like, the delusion is almost impressive. You're not even making any good points here. You're not even defending your stance very well. No one's forcing you to go to the gym. No one's twisting your arm like, hey, listen, Buster, get your ass in the gym. You don't have to. No one's making you. But why are you shitting on people that do? It's not a waste of time at all. It's not even a huge time commitment to get in good shape. An hour a day and then changing your diet around to make your health better? Like, it's not even this huge detriment that's going to lead to them being broke or anything. It's just absolute nonsense from a guy who I'm certain has never picked up anything heavy in his life.
Because if you look at a person who lifts and a person who doesn't lift but has a lot of skill sets and has high intellect, the guy with a lot of intellect, with a lot of path and purpose and skill sets, it's going to win. Just because you can lift things doesn't mean you're smart. It just means that you can just lift shit. I mean, it's like...
So much useless drivel and cope for why he doesn't lift. You can do both here, dummy. You can lift and still be highly intellectual, even if being in great shape isn't necessary for the skill set for your career path. It's still probably worth doing because it's not a massive time investment for it. Lifting occasionally and eating better is not somehow going to ruin your chance of success and lead to you being broke and unable to find a career path that makes more than 10K a month or whatever the fuck you're talking about. This is just all mental gymnastics to justify you personally not wanting to go to the gym. Just don't. But I don't understand the point in shitting in people who do. It's just so weird.
There's no excuse to why you can't make 10K a month. And honestly, life doesn't really start until $30,000 a month. I make a bunch of videos about this.
I know a lot of people think this guy's rage baiting or playing a character, but I have good reason to believe that he is completely genuine. From everything I've seen from him, this really does seem to be the way he views the world. He proudly proclaims that life doesn't start till you're making 30K a month, and that there's absolutely no excuse for somehow making less than 10K a month. This is a guy who lost touch with reality long, long ago.
It's not what I'm talking about as far as protect. It's not about the physicality. It's about the fact of the matter that she needs to feel safe and protected in a nice home with a good financial situation, be able to raise kids and be able to go out with her friends and still be the woman that she wants to be and have her own path and purpose. It's not about the physicality, okay? And also, if you make enough money, you get a security team, okay? Now, I don't have one, but all I'm saying there is that you use money to give you extra freedoms.
So he made a point to say that if you're not making 6 figures a year, you need to break up with your girlfriend right now because he'll probably fucking steal her from you because he has more money, which means he can protect her and provide for her better than you can. He explains that the protecting thing wasn't about physicality, like physically being able to defend her from harm. It was being able to give her like a big house and shelter and financial freedom to spend money to go out with her friends and raise a kid. Now, I live in the real world where you don't need 6 figures to be able to provide a safe household like that to afford those kind of good things. But he's out there in fucking Narnia, Fantasyland, where apparently you need 6 figures for that. But regardless, what really stands out to me is his last claim, where when you're making a lot of money, you get a security team. That was a huge red flag. That sounded the alarms. The sirens blared that this guy is most likely a fraud and pretending he is fake. We, at our warehouse, actually did look into hiring a full-time security team for the property. It is an outrageous expense. From all of the research I've done on his media company, I can neither confirm nor deny if his claims are accurate about it generating 9 figures for his clients. The only place that's spouting those numbers are his websites, and he has fucking 3 of them. One of them hasn't been maintained in the last 3 years. All it does is drip feed fanfic about his upbringing, as well as 404 when you try and look up anything else about it. And then underneath a documentary he made where he sucks his own dick, it's just this giant white page, just this void of emptiness. So there's no good information there, but on his other 2 websites, he does have claims that it's 9-figure generating. But as he mentions in his response, that doesn't mean he's worth 9 figures. From all of the numbers I can find online, and I always take these with a grain of salt, his net worth is between $3 to $6 million. If those numbers are even close to accurate, he himself couldn't afford a full-time security team. He lives where I do, in Florida. If you wanted to hire just one full-time bodyguard for a property or whatever, you are looking at an expense of roughly $150K for one person. That's not even a full team. He would run out of money in like 2 years, perhaps. So it, to me, seems like he has no fucking clue what he's talking about. He's making it sound like this is a common purchase people start making when they start getting a lot of money, when it is not. This is something that's reserved only for like the highest income individuals or actual large businesses. To me, this really just feels like he's pretending. And making more than 10K a month doesn't enable you to magically protect her better.
If you see how he edits the video right there, he trimmed it because he knew what he was about to say was stupid. That's the only time where he trimmed the video, where he cut it. Because he knows that he was about to say that it's not important to make 10K a month when I know damn well with 12 million subscribers, he makes more than $10,000 a month. It's hypocritical for him to say that because he has things behind him right now that, from what I can see, they're not cheap things.
This is a big gotcha moment from him here. An astute observation, he noticed a cut, but then falsely claims it's the only one I made. Bro, I make cuts in videos. This isn't all just one take. Sometimes I actually do get videos in just like one full fucking take, but usually I don't. I'll fumble words, and that's when it gets cut, and I'll go back and explain things differently, say something else entirely. It's all very normal. I actually just did it. I'm not sure if you noticed. It's not uncommon. In a live stream, I can't do that, so yeah, all of that's one take. But, I mean, you're in the space, right? Like, you have to know how video editing works and video making. I don't know why he's trying to catch me on a cut and assuming that I was about to say that making 10K a month isn't important. And it's also not hypocritical either, if I was to make that point. You don't need to be making 10K a month to be happy. You just simply don't. Your whole personality is money. I lived the majority of my life without even imagining $10,000 a month, and I was happy then too. Just as happy then as I am now. It's not a necessary, absolute must-have thing, and you're not a failure if you don't get $10,000 a month. Contrary to the delusion that you're fucking encumbered by, you don't need $30K a month to start living. You don't. Like, I can't believe anyone actually thinks that way. What an outrageous claim to make. So, I wasn't going to say that, but I'll say it now. You don't need $10K a month in order to go to the gym, to have a loving relationship, to provide for your girlfriend, protect her, have a happy life, have happy kids. You don't ever need to breach $10K a month to reach that level.
It's not a bad spot. I don't need a massive house with 18 fucking bedrooms with nobody to vacate them. That's a stupid financial investment, okay? The car is not, because the car is for marketing. The car is something I enjoy. Houses are stationary. They don't move. Cars move, and I have fun with the wind in my face.
Finally, something reasonable here. I pointed out that his house tour is a very nice spot, but it's not a mega mansion, which confused me because he's all about flexing his cars, for example. And he defended it by saying that it's a nice spot, but he doesn't need a big house. He doesn't want a huge mansion. It'd be a bad investment for him financially. He doesn't want a lot of eyes on him. And all of that makes sense. Completely agree. You don't need a huge house or anything like that. But then why doesn't that same line of logic apply to your McLaren and your supercars, your extremely expensive cars? He tries to say that the cars are for marketing. Why? Because you slap your Instagram handle on the back of one of them? I'm just going to hit you with the cold water and give you the truth. There has never been a single living, breathing human being that has seen a car with an Instagram handle on it that thought to themselves, wow, that piqued my interest. I can't wait to check out that Instagram account of that cool guy driving that car. 100% of the time, people write you off as driving a cringe mobile. That is the worst marketing. It's like anti-marketing. It makes people laugh at you. But regardless, with the house, you're right. You don't need a big house. Same way you didn't need those expensive cars. But you mentioned that you have fun with them. Well, I'd actually understand if you did have a mega mansion because it'd fall in line with what you were just talking about, where guys who don't make 6 figures a month need to break up with their girlfriends because they can't protect and provide. If you had a big house, you would be providing for your girlfriend, right? You mentioned that you have a girlfriend. I imagine she lives with you. You mentioned people live with you. Wouldn't getting a huge house pretty much be exactly what you preach? You're giving her a great place to be protected in, provided, afforded luxuries, raise a kid in. Like, that falls more in line with what you're saying than owning these worthless supercars. Like, that feels like it should be so much further down the list of priorities for your money. Now, I completely agree. You don't need a big house. But what you're not recognizing is that the way you're living your life in terms of, like, your house is exactly what I and everyone else with a brain is saying. That you don't need $30K a month to live a happy life. You don't need $30K a month to start living, as you claim. You are in a house right now with your girlfriend and whoever else that people could afford without $30K a month, and you are happy. And I imagine they are happy as well. So the life you are currently living contradicts the one that you are preaching about. You are living a lifestyle that is not $30K a month. You are living something that people can live right now without even coming close to that. And yet you're shitting on them if they don't reach it and shaming them for not making that kind of money. It's hypocritical, I would argue. I just wanted to mention that because I found it to be the most interesting component here. I ended up going through more of the video here than I planned on. I just found the whole thing to be just kind of fascinating in a way, so I just wanted to talk about it a little bit, and that's about it. So, yeah.